Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask you about Thomas Partey, who was having a brilliant pre-season before he picked up that injury against Chelsea. Just how big a season do you think he can have for the club, and how important is his role, particularly with these young players that are now in the club and you need senior players like Thomas?
Yeah, he's been missed for the last year or so because he missed almost 6 months of competition last year, which is a lot because he came very late as well in the transfer window. It's a player that he has to be one of the leaders. He has to be the boss in midfield and one of the senior players that has to carry responsibility out of the young players and lead. And we have been missing that big time. He's a player that has that winning culture because he has won a lot in the game already. And to have this kind of players in the team, it's extremely important. So he has a huge role to play in the team.
And just one on the window itself. Last year, you spoke about the issues of not getting players out the door and the problem that occurs in the dressing rooms when you don't get people who want to leave the club. Do you feel this time you've got all the outgoings you wanted and you've got a united dressing room after the transfer window shut?
Yes, we have a really united dressing room, a really united group of staff and club. And is now to start working all together with the difficult style we have, try to put that aside and just focus on what is coming next, which is Norwich, and that should be the only focus from now on.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
And just come to the newspapers with a deadline of 10:30 tomorrow, Friday. Mark?
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
You were saying, we were talking about the numbers of players who've come in, the number of players who've gone out, and it has been an incredible turnaround in the last 2 or 3 years. Is it possible to really achieve anything when you're constantly changing the squad every sort of 6 months or a year?
I think consistency is the hardest thing to achieve there, Mark, if you ask me the question. And I think it's been 29 changes on players only in the last 18 months. That's incredible, but hopefully now we can find some stability. It's a lot that had to be done, a lot of difficult decisions that have to be done, that they have been done, and we knew the consequences, not only internally but around the environment, that the implication that those could have, but they were really necessary, and we believe that they were necessary, and they have been taken. And now we need some stability. We cannot continue to do that, obviously, because then you don't get any stability, you don't get any momentum, any cohesion in the team. You have constantly players that have to adapt and evolve and understand a certain way of playing, of living, of getting involved around the club. And that's a big challenge. But hopefully now the majority is done.
Is that when you sort of compare it to, say, Man City and Chelsea, where they basically just have to sign one player at a window? And is that the difference?
You cannot compare. There are completely different projects. We could have taken a very different approach and just go in the casino and gamble big. But that's a big thing for the club that was going to put him in a live or die situation. And I think we all believe that it wasn't what we could go. And me being responsible in my area or decisions to make, I supported completely the strategy that the club wanted to implement. And there we go. Let's have a big go. It's been a lot of changes, and let's be positive and let's move forward.
Are you not happy with the balance of the squad? Because clearly when you arrived, the squad was quite unbalanced. Do you think now the squad is balanced?
We are in a much better place. I'm really happy with what we are being able to do with the ideas that we had. And now it's about getting the maximum out of that team. As I said before, the complexity in this industry is medium-long projects with immediate results. And now is when we have to find the right trick in the car to make it go fast, as quick as possible, and don't break down.
And just briefly, and you mentioned there about Thomas Partey, two of the players you signed to sort of be game changers were Partey and Gabriel. And so far, they haven't really been that due to injuries or whatever. Yeah. How important is it for those two to sort of step up and become part of that leadership group?
Yes, huge. And we haven't had that. And it's true that injuries have played a big part on that. But again, it's part of football and we have to adapt to it. They know what they have to do. If there are certain things that they have to change or do better, we're all ready to try to help them because they're going to be hugely important for our success.
Is it a frustration that they haven't really been available to you on a regular basis?
Yes, because again, you want some stability. You want to start to pick a certain team that can be consistent, and it needs to generate those relationships and that cohesion, understanding around the team. And that's been a real challenge. And not only from injuries, because we've been in a COVID world for the last 15, 16 months. And obviously that had a big impact on that as well.
Thank you.
Paul?
Hi, Mikel. Hope you're well. We all make mistakes in life. I wondered what mistakes you think you might have made at Arsenal since you've been there. And looking back, is there anything you'd have done differently or that you've maybe really learned from since you've been here?
Well, I looked at almost every decision that we made. Sometimes it's whether it was the right decision or not. Sometimes whether the timing or not is different. Sometimes if we could explain earlier what we were trying to do or not. But certainly I am the responsible one to make things work. And obviously we are not where we want to be. And that's my full responsibility, and it's no one else to blame. That's it.
Would that just have been in terms of decisions with players then, you mean? Or is there anything else?
No, it's in everything. When you don't win, you got it wrong, 100%, believe me. And if you play somebody, you should have played somebody else. If you made a substitution at 70, you should have done it at 25. It's always like that. That blame doesn't go away. Every time you lose a football match, it's like this. What I can assure you, everything is being in a very thoughtful process with everybody involved around the club. And when it was more down to decisions towards the team or decisions to play, how we're going to play, or we do, or with my coaching staff, and nothing off the cuff. Obviously, you have to have that inspiration and that gut feeling that you should never lose, but always with the right intentions.
Does that mean you're always questioning yourself? I presume you've never really done.
Very much. I want myself to question and the people that are around me to question me, because are the ones that are looking things from a very close angle, knowing all the facts, but I can have a different perspective as well.
Okay. With all these young players that you brought to the club, they have room to grow, obviously, with Arsenal. Do you think realistically it will be 1 or 2 years maybe before this team really hits its peak?
Well, if you talk about the peak and just an age bracket and what they've done in the game, because some of them, they play 20 or 30 matches in the Premier League. Some other players in the Premier League and other teams, they already play 200 games at that age, So they're going to take them some time to do that. But we need to do it tomorrow or Saturday.
And you spoke about stability in terms of the market and the amount of players coming and going. With so much money spent in this window, is that some of your budget for future windows gone too? Can we expect less spending in future windows as a result?
Well, as I just said to Mark as well, obviously the amount of transactions that have to be made in and out in the last 2 seasons, I think there were 29, only 19 this season. It's a lot. So we cannot sustain that level of changes, obviously, for many different reasons, but financially as well, because it wouldn't be sustainable.
Could I take you back to something you said about players getting jabbed too earlier on? You sort of mentioned that there were some aspects that you'd have to limit players with in terms of training and being around the club. Could you just expand on what you meant by that?
For example, traveling. Obviously, if they're not vaccinated and they travel or they socialize in certain places, obviously the risk increases a lot. And obviously we don't want that exposure with any of our players, because obviously at the end the team and the club will pay the price. So
does that mean that if a player does do that or mixes in a way that you don't particularly like, you're keeping them slightly apart in training?
No, what we have to do is just be on the same page and understand all the facts, that the facts are the personal facts that somebody can have for many different reasons. Maybe it's a health issue, maybe it's a contradiction that he has, or the way he's been educated, or some beliefs. And the other one is, okay, what is best for the club and the team to try to minimize any risk of the player contracting the virus or passing it to anybody else.
Okay, these next few games are obviously really big for Arsenal, but they're really big for you personally too, aren't they? I wondered how you get your players to tune out all the noise around you and your position and that kind of pressure. How do you keep them focused, and how do you avoid all that noise too?
Yeah, keep the focus on me, leave the players alone, let them play with a free flow and confidence, and this comes with responsibility and and the expectations of any manager, and you have to embrace that pressure because it's always going to exist. It's part of your job, unfortunately.
Do you think they look relaxed? Do they feel relaxed and ready to go and able to play with no pressure and freedom? Do you have to do things differently?
This is what I'm going to try to do, that they can do that, and the crowd can see that, and the fans can support the team and create a really good energy around the place.
Okay,
thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.